Hello everyone, and welcome to another question of the week video. This one might be the last one for a while. I was thinking about it recently, and then I was starting to panic this week because no one was answering my question, and I thought I was gonna have to talk by myself today. But I think it was a little bit of a convoluted question, but it's a good one. But even before that, I was starting to think like maybe I could start doing question of the month and not question of the week because I have so many games to catch up on and manga I want to read and so yeah, we'll think about it. But for today, the question was, well, it starts with a quote. Just an article came out about uh, in mid July, One Piece creator Ichiro Oda hosted a private dinner party for a group of legendary manga creators, fulfilling a promise he made a year prior. So it was about this legendary dinner. One of the attendees made a drawing, right, of all the authors that attended going to the taxis afterwards, and he was like saying they were all dripping with aura, something, something. Looked so cool. The drawing was cool. And I was thinking to myself, how fun would it be if you as an individual could just be at that dinner? Like, what kind of question could I come up with that, has us thinking about that? So the question came out like this. What are your thoughts on this legendary dinner? Which author out of the attendees only is your favorite? If you could be there and you were allowed 3 questions, what would your questions be? But I didn't want like 3 questions to all the authors. I wanted it to be like you have 3 questions. That's like pocket money, $3. You have $3 and you can give $3 away to one mangaka or 3 mangaka, but or like 2 questions to one mangaka and 1 question to another. But I didn't really know how to say that, but this is how it came out. If you could be there and you were allowed 3 questions, what would your 3 questions be? Not 3 questions to all of the mangaka, more like choose one mangaka to ask 3 questions to, or 1 questions per mangaka, but no more than 3 in total. You see, it's convoluted, but I thought it would be interesting. Anyway, so these were the attendees. It was Oda from One Piece, Kishimoto from Naruto, Takehiko Inoue from Slam Dunk, Horikoshi from My Hero Academia, Gege Akutami from Jujutsu Kaisen, Hiroyuki Takei from Shaman King, Riichiro Inagaki from Dr. Stone, Masakazu Katsura from the Zetman Eye Video Girl Eye. I've never heard of that one. And then Masanori Morita from it's a slash. It's Zetman slash Video Girl Eye. And Morita is from Roku Denashi Blues slash Rookies. Okay, I see. So the first reply to the conversation was Shubs that was asking if Kubo was left out or couldn't go. And Nox said maybe he was too hip to go. I always got the impression that Oda and Kishimoto were close, and Kubo was left out of the bromance. Shubs replied, it would be kind of hilarious because from experience, Bleach fans used to be the isolated ones for no reason, while the fans from the other two used to read all 3. I understand affinity, but with this many authors, it seems like it's almost an event. Like they have official ones missing the FMA author as well, but maybe it was a boys' night type of thing. So Panya said, I think it was more like a Jump author thing, and she's not from Jump. So this was Nox's answer to the actual questions. Thank you for putting in so much effort to answer my convoluted question to everybody who tried. Nox says, I think it's amazing that established creators in the manga community are able to enjoy each other's company and discuss their craft. I think the civility between manga artists makes me respect their work even more. I like how they clearly put so much time and effort into creating stories that reflect their own unique vision, which is something I feel is special to manga. Normally, in visual mediums like film or American comic books, you have different writers, illustrators, editors, and producers all leaving their fingerprints on the final product. That is very true. Manga artists stand out because they often have a more personal connection to their work, their characters, and their world building. We know that to some extent the editors are involved, but it's much more one person's creation compared to like the Marvel universe, which um, is maybe much bigger, but that also means more influenced by various ideas and visions. Whereas like the One Piece world or the Naruto world is like a little bit more personal in some ways. I did read Kubo. The only thing Kubo said about Jujutsu Kaisen girls is that it's not his type of girls. Like he has a specific taste, and obviously his taste is very visible in his own manga. I did see a lot of people try to make big drama about it, but I did not think it was that dramatic. It's like me saying I prefer One Piece over Hunter x Hunter, and then people lose their minds. But it's not really, it's preference. Okay. Knox continues. That being said, it bums me out that this dinner wasn't held about 10 years earlier. I would have loved to see names like Akira Toriyama, Monkey Punch, and Nobuhiro Watsuki before his criminal conviction. What did he do? On the guest list. I would also want to spread my questions. I don't know what he did, but imagine if they were having this kind of dinners together regularly. If they had time to breathe between work, they could do this and have regular dinners. And maybe he would have never been, I don't know what he got convicted of, but imagine if he had the close friends in the industry, maybe they could keep him on the straight and narrow. You don't want to know? Damn, then I know what it is. If it's that, I know what it is. I was hoping it was something like tax avoidal, that's not a word. Avoidance, avoiding. I was hoping it's something like didn't pay his taxes. Tax evasion. Thanks. But if it's the other thing, then fucking great. I don't want to know. But still, imagine maybe he just needed like, if they could get to him before, maybe he. What? That's a whole other conversation that I really don't want to get into. But considering things in the real world and conspiracies, it might be a conversation we should have at some point in the future. I don't know, but I feel like that's a whole other channel. Like I joke about making a fourth channel where I react to Western movies and Western series, because I do really like a lot of, especially superhero comics and stuff. But that would be like a fifth channel where we talk about conspiracies and shit and like real world problems and like, I don't know, political commentary, but I don't know anything, so I would never do that. But it would be pretty fun having a channel dedicated to learning about the world, But anyway, that's a different life. So that is a very cool thought. If the dinner could have been held 10 years earlier. It really bummed me. I respected him as a creator, a manga creator. What did he write or draw? Which manga did he create? I would also want to spread my questions around the table with the help of my good friend, the conjunction. Make them a little longer. So, this is very well done. Thank you. Oh, Kenshin! Oh, I heard about that. I did hear about that. I don't know. Okay, so the first question from Nox is to Riichiro Inagaki, who is the creator of Dr. Stone. Do you think your attention to scientific detail comes from focusing solely on writing instead of also being an illustrator? And do you think it would be too difficult for one person to become that knowledgeable about specialized scientific procedures while also producing artwork at the level expected of a weekly manga artist? well, I'm not that person, but imagine trying to learn in depth about the content of your story, but then also have to draw weekly a manga. Like, I couldn't imagine. I'm very glad that there are there can be exceptions, like, having a writer and an artist, because I in my expectations, I mean, I'm sure there are people who could do it, but in my expectations it just seems like a week is too little time in general for thoroughly researching, planning, and then drawing. I was surprised I was surprised they had the Dr. Stone writer and not the illustrator, Bochi. I love his style. He actually drew some of Oda's like characters, like Ace. There was an Ace story. Wasn't there a Sanji side story, like a Food Wars? Oh no, wait, that was Food Wars. I don't know, but it would have been really cool if Bochi was also there. He drew the Mihawk fight. So I wonder if there was a specific reason why it was only writers. Maybe a secret project in the works, maybe to kind of like think about how manga, and therefore anime, of course, which mostly stems from manga, is influencing Japan and influencing the world's view of Japan. And like, think about all the tourists flooding to Japan, which is a positive and a negative, obviously, but just think about the influence that anime and manga have on the world, right? So my point is getting writers together, the ones creating this content. I mean, you stories can influence a generation. So I'm really curious if that was a topic of discussion, and that's why maybe it focused on specific writers. I don't know. But second question, from Knox, goes to Hiroyuki Takei, who is the author of Shaman King. So just a little side note, I started watching the new Shaman King, the updated one, a few years ago. And for some reason the comedy didn't really land for me and I ended up not continuing it. But I did like the powers and some of the characters and stuff. I would like to retry it someday, but yeah, at the time it wasn't for me. But Knox's question is, when you and Eiichiro Oda were working together as assistants on Rurouni Kenshin, did you have any idea that the two of you would go on to have such a massive impact on the future of manga? Oh, and then third question is for Oda. Do you think One Piece will lose some of its cultural impact once the series ends, or do you think it will become even more culturally significant over time, similar to how Dragon Ball has continued to grow in influence decades after its conclusion? For me, since it's not really a battle shonen and it won't have that game, I think the games added a lot to Dragon Ball, in terms of its notoriety overseas. So in that sense, I wonder if it could, remain, uh keep its hold on the cultural impact. But it's with the way that the world is going and what the world needs, I think I really hope that it keeps its cultural impact somehow. I'm not sure how though. Like, how do you, because usually to reach the masses the way that Dragon Ball does, it's not like every brilliant thing gets the recognition that it deserves. Like, there's a mixture of things that make it as successful. Obviously, you need the base material to be amazing, which it is, both for Dragon Ball and One Piece. But then you need something that's you need. I don't know what can we call it? Good marketing. So I think it depends on a lot. But does One Piece have what what it needs to remain relevant? Yes, in my opinion, yes. Nox says, I think One Piece's legacy will hinge on its final arc. Mm. Mm. If that's the case, if that is the case, then I think it'll be fine. I believe in Oda and the conclusion that he's working towards. Then the bonus question that I asked was, if you could have dinner with anyone in the manga or anime industry, animator, voice actor, mangaka, who would you choose and which restaurant would you go to? So that was just a little extra question if people felt like answering it. And Nox answered, easy answer. I would want to have lunch with Hideaki Sorachi. Oh, that's Gintama's author, right? We would get a bowl of miso ramen in Sapporo, Hokkaido, where he attended university, and talk about teaching and historical fiction. I would ask him which historical periods or famous figures he would most like to adapt into a science fiction comedy. We'd probably eat somewhere cheap, quiet, and dimly lit, since he is famously private. And of course, because he's a gorilla. Such a great answer. So, Panya was replying. Thank you, Nox, for answering. I love your bonus question answer, especially. And your other questions were all very thought provoking. Panya replied to Shubs about the FMA author that it seems like more like a Jump author thing, and she's not from Jump. And the Bob said Togashi is also Jump. I was gonna ask about Takeuchi, Takahashi, and Araki missing, but if it's more a Jump thing, then it makes sense. And then he added, didn't Kubo end Bleach in odds with Shueisha? If I remember correctly, without reading more answers yet, he was very pressed for time, and I don't think he was doing great health-wise, and they kind of pressured him, and he couldn't create the vision. He couldn't create what he envisioned to end his series with. So maybe there was a bit of bad blood or something. I'm not sure, but that's what I heard. So Shub says Togashi from before Oda's generation. I don't know how much connection they would have. It doesn't feel out of place to not be there. But when one of the big three isn't there, it raises eyebrows. Mine especially, because people who like exclusively Bleach were always weird to me. I've never spoken to anyone who only likes Bleach. Tiago's answer. Oda would be my favorite author from the attendees. I think my question would go along the lines of what kind of guidelines they make for themselves when they make their stories. If I could have dinner with anyone in the manga or anime industry, it would be between Naoki Urasawa, that is the creator of Monster, Billy Bat, Pluto, 20th Century Boys, Master Keaton, or Yoshiki Tanaka, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, with a restaurant on their recommendation. Who is the author of Astro Boy again? Probably more so for Yoshiki Tanaka, who is on the older side of 73. Tiago also said to Shubs, I'm under the impression his back issues or pain wouldn't allow it anyway. I was thinking about that too, but it's for a dinner, so I think it wouldn't take that much strain. Nox's first bit being Kubo is too hip kind of tells me I'm not crazy for pointing that all sense though. I don't know what all sense is, but I personally think it's just kind of like a maybe he distanced himself from a Jump or Shueisha, and so the connections are not so smooth. So they maybe went with the most easy, comfortable kind of attendees. I'm not sure. Osamu Tezuka is Astro Boy. Has he? Wait, let me. Osamu Tezuka. I heard very cool things about him. he passed already in 1989. Maybe then the video I watched was about someone else, cause yeah, I know he's a legendary mangaka. That's why I watched like a video of him, and it was saying that he in China or somewhere they were posting his work without copyright. Was it him, right? They were posting his work without copyright, and they didn't do it correctly. Like the paneling, they photocopied it or something, and it wasn't done right for the printing format, and he redrew it for the people who printed it without the right to do it. He redrew it because he was like, everybody in China is seeing my work in such poor quality. It was so funny. That was a funny video. Like, it was obviously the delivery of the video creator as well, but it did make me respect the creator even more. The author Osamu Tezuka. Wait, let me show you. What's his name? You know what I have to Google to find him? Cat names, Japanese. This guy. He is brilliant. His name is Kyotako Kyotako Ko. I'm not sure how to find that specific video, but it should be here, and you can watch all of his videos though. They are amazing. Okay. The next answer is from Panya Chuan. She answered. Wow. Okay, so wait. Pluto, which Naoki Urasawa made, was adapted from an arc of Astro Boy. So even that was very much Osamu Tezuka inspired. So Panya-chan's answer is, my first thought was, Odachi really is Luffy. The way Morita sensei, who shared it, put it, Odachi ni tsurerareta. What? Odachi ni tsurerarete. Oda took me. Made me picture Oda going, Hikuzo! Utageda! As he happily rounded everyone up. Ah. If I were there, I would honestly just want to blend into the wallpaper and quietly listen to their conversations. That is so Panya. Very good answer though, because wouldn't we all feel so intimidated if it actually happened? It would just be like, it'd be amazing. That said, there is one thing I've always wanted to ask Oda. What does he think about the ship of Theseus paradox? I went through a phase where I was a bit into the stories that featured the ship of Theseus, and I think Water 7 arc has parts that call to mind the paradox as well. I would love to hear how Oda himself sees the ship of Theseus, and whether his own view has changed over the years. Now I have to look up ship of Theseus. Ship of Theseus. The difference is that Panya can do that. We all were going to be looking for the subtitles to understand a word. True. The Ship of Theseus is an ancient philosophical paradox exploring identity, continuity, and change. Oh, it's the one about if you replace every part of a ship over time, like this part, is it the same ship at the start of the is the ship at the end of the journey still the same ship at the start of I remember this. It asks whether a vessel remains the same object after all of its original wooden parts have been completely replaced over time. My first thought, my initial, because now immediately I start thinking about it, but when I wasn't thinking about it, I wanted to say yes, because the thing is more the concept than the actual physical parts. You know, so like, if you replace this part And then a year later, that part has assimilated into the original concept. So that would be my first thought. But if I think about it more, it's obviously a lot more complicated than that. But that was just, initial. So, origins and the riddle. It was first recorded by the Greek writer Plutarch in the late 1st century CE. It tells the story of the mythical king Theseus, whose 30-oar ship was preserved by the people of Athens. As wooden planks rotted and decayed, they were swapped out one by one with new, stronger timber. The central question is the restored ship in the harbor still the same historical ship of Theseus? Hmm. Hmm. I feel like my answer would probably remain the same, especially because it's an inanimate object that represents it's an inanimate object but that meant something to a specific people, and changing its parts slowly over time. They were working on this ship, and this ship will remain this ship. But it has to do with time, because if they do it all in one night, then it's like a new ship. But because they did it over time, and they were the people themselves were working on this concept, like that makes me think yes, it's the same. Um but yeah, it's definitely more complicated than that. Now I'm trying to think, like, you can't really apply it to real people because there's no way you could replace every part of a real human being. Oh, but Frankie is a good example because Frankie in the story does. Like, a lot of his parts become different, but he's still Frankie. So, Knox says, that is a great question. I never made that connection, but Frankie talks about that. I think the keel is the soul of the ship. If that stays the same, it's the same ship. It's the same with humans and their spines. It's the first thing formed when being born, and it can be taken out without destroying the rest of the vessel. And it can't be taken out without destroying the rest of the vessel. Oh, very good point. Yeah. Booty says there is a second part. If they use all the retired parts to build again the original ship, which of the two is the true ship? The original with no original pieces, or the second one with all the original pieces? That gets too hypothetical for me, because the reason they were replaced was because they were rotting. So for I don't feel like you could do that. Like, you wouldn't be able, it would be this like sham of a thing. Like, you removed it from the original. Like, if I cut off my hand, I can't you attach it to someone else. It's not me over there, it's me over here. So I think if my hand rots over time and eventually Frankenstein puts together, okay, but then it's different pieces. But I like Knox's answer makes it simple because it's about the core. With an inanimate object though, uh for me in my brain it has a lot more to do with, I guess, the concept of it. But it's easier when your concept is, your idea of something is tied to a core, which, like he says, the keel is a good representation of. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I would love also to hear Oda's thoughts on this. So, just a little bonus here. There is a Hobbes twist. Later, philosopher Thomas Hobbes, oh, that's what you mentioned. Imagine someone collected the discarded, rotting old planks and reassembled them into a second ship, but I don't think it could last long enough. This doesn't seem like something that happens over the course of a year. It seems like something that happens over the course of many years, and I just don't think that the pieces would even last long enough. And even if they do, how would you properly attach them to each other to make a ship that you can use? Like, if it's supposed to be the original ship, but it can't even sail, then I don't really think it's that original ship. But it says here, philosophers debate which one is the true original, the one with historical continuity of function or the one with historical continuity of matter. But for me, that's too vague because, or too, like, obviously all philosophical questions are just mental exercises, but when it gets so far removed, because I literally can't imagine collecting over the course of many years, collecting those rotted pieces and actually being able to build a ship. It's too vague for me at that point. It's easier to see with something like a PC. You can replace all the pieces one by one to make a better PC, but you could use all the old pieces that still work to make a worse PC. I guess it kind of boils down to like Knox said, what's the core? Because if I'm in my room and I use this PC and I'm slowly starting, because Hanku and I do that, some of my parts in my original PC is replaced and he takes the old parts. So is that PC my PC or is this PC my PC? Honestly, never thought about it because it's not like my PC has a identity the way that the Theseus ship has an identity, but once again, it's difficult to imagine because not all of the parts have been replaced. By the time every single part is replaced, Hanku doesn't take everything because some of it breaks, and then it's not usable. So I don't know. I guess it feels less meaningful when it's something with no real identity. Like it's a PC I work on, but it's not like, there's an MCU episode that discusses that. I'm sure there are many media. She says here, Panya says, I went through a phase where I was into stories that featured the ship of Theseus. Does she mean the specific ship or the like the ship of Theseus in movies and film or stories, or does she mean the paradox explored through not necessarily the ship? One day I will watch WandaVision. I'm shocked. I never made the connection between the keel of a ship and Frankie's back being his weak point. And he considers himself his ship. BF 37, Water 7 is amazing. Oda is amazing. I think she means the concept. Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Panya, for bringing up a very interesting discussion. As with most philosophical things, there's not an end point or a conclusion to reach, but it's interesting to muse about. I hope I can find more stories in the future that muses about it in the same way, like WandaVision. Okay, so her answer to the bonus question. Since I recently watched the new Chikawa movie and it's still stuck in my head, the first one that came to mind was the author, Nagano Sensei. And I would add someone like Togashi from Hunter x Hunter or Caillou Sensei from The Promised Neverland. Yes, Caillou Sensei. The conversation would be so interesting. For the restaurant, Nagano Sensei seems to be a foodie, so I would love her recommendation. I have many authors in mind. I have many other authors in mind too. Kanehito Yamada. I never know where my emphasis doesn't flow so freely in Japanese compared to English. It's so easy to read English, but then there's like Japanese names or words thrown in, and then my emphasis goes haywire. Kanehito Yamada from Frieren, Ryuhei Tamura from Beelzebub or Cosmos, Yohira Tokiwa from Kurumizawa's Folly, and Ku Tanaka, My Son and the Man-Eating Apartment. That sounds interesting. I would definitely have a meaningful time with any of the above. Side note, Tokiwa sensei is also the author of my favorite one-shot, Heishi to Burikiya, which is what got me interested in the ship of Theseus. Oh, Tokiwa sensei? Where is... Oh, from Kurumizawa's Folly. Maybe Maria Ise, my Oshi voice actor. I would probably spend the whole time looking like this. She's melting. Because of her voice, uhehehe. Let's quickly check Maria Ise. Maria Ise. Wow, I would melt even before she says anything. So she voices, oh, Stocking! And Revi, maybe Young Gojo, Himeno, Rei, Regu, Midari Ikishima. Did I say Revi? Killua? Oh, what? Killua and Stalking Anarchy has the same VA? I wonder if Panya has watched Panty and Stalking with Garter Belt because it's wild. Absolutely wild. I can't imagine Panya watching it, but then again, Panya liked the manga for 2.5 dimensional seduction. So, can we quickly give me 2 minutes? Hello? Kan jij voor mij ijsstokken maken?
Oké.
En nog water brengen, dankie.
Okay.
Panya recommended me a Naked Snake Lady anime this season. She is not as innocent as we think. She just seems so innocent, but she's still an adult. She's a 33-year-old lady, just like me. But she's so cute. It doesn't seem like it. My brain can calculate that adorable. Okay, Booty's answer is next. Thank you so much to Panya and to Tiago for answering also. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Booty says, I love that they do things like this. It feels like one of those work dinners that are usually a great time, and with a group of creators this famous who probably already see each other at conventions, award ceremonies, and other industry events. It must be really nice to get together without work, journalists, or anything like that hanging over the evening. I'm going to count Oda as the host rather than an attendee, so I won't pick him as my favorite. Such a technicality. Out of everyone else, I would go with Kohei Horikoshi. My first question would be for Masashi Kishimoto. While you were writing Naruto, how much did fan opinion actually influence your decisions? How much did it end up changing the story? Looking back, Do you regret those changes or would you make the same decisions again? For context, it is well known that Kishimoto changed parts of the story to better match what the readers wanted, like to bring Obito back after Kakashi's flashback, even though it created some pretty difficult plot holes to explain. Oh, interesting. Hmm. I think that does not seem like a good thing to do, but it depends because, the author of Attack on Titan, Sasha was supposed to die. And then that worked out pretty well later, right? For the story. But it's like it depends on how much is the character actually involved in the main plot or so I don't know. That would be a very interesting thing to ask. My second question would be for Kohei Horikoshi. I feel so bad suddenly because I said that I I didn't keep watching Shaman King. But I really like the concept, the characters and the powers. It's just that the at the time the comedy kind of like killed it for me. But it wasn't the show, okay? I just wanted to make that clear again. Okay. Booty's second question would be for Kohei Horikoshi. Between the students, villains, pro heroes, other schools, and everything else, do you think the cost ended up being too big? Which specific characters do you wish you had more time to explore? Yeah, but it's not like bull jokes can't be funny. We make bull jokes all the time. Sorry, I just totally killed poor Booty's question, but yeah, it was the tanuki balls or something. I don't remember. But it was just bad timing. I don't know. Because I think bull jokes are funny generally. Okay, that's an interesting question for Horikoshi. I would love to hear his answer, and I hope that answer is Bakugo. I'm kidding, Bakugo got more than enough focus. The one school with that the hero kid who really liked Todoroki's dad. You know the one that spoke really loudly? He was cool. I would have loved to see more of him. The the seniors with Tamaki and Morio. Uh, you know, that would also be the guy that controls air. Yeah, the air. The characters also looked too chibi for me at that point. Maybe, yeah. It's just one of those things that didn't land. Even Demon Slayer, when I started watching it, I didn't like the style at the time. But it grew on me a lot as the story continued. The third one is for Oda. Lost manga chapter. So this is a spoiler. If you're not caught up with One Piece manga, mute me because I want to read this question. Mute me, mute me, mute me. Is Imu a parrot? Okay, you can unmute me. For the bonus, I would pick Masako Nozawa. So Booty would like to have dinner with Goku's VA. Japanese VA, to be clear. She's been a part of the entertainment industry for the last 86 years. First as an actress and later as a voice actress. I can easily picture us at the yakiniku restaurant with her telling one of the thousands of stories and anecdotes that she has collected over the past 80 years, while the meat cooks on the grill. I wouldn't even need to ask her anything. I could just sit there and listen. She's also always come across as a genuinely fun person, so I wouldn't even be surprised if she wanted to end the night by going to karaoke. Sounds so fun! Seeing the Demon Slayer cast without a shirt and you see their chibi faces with beefy bodies is odd. Yeah, still, but that doesn't happen a lot, so I think the manga is a better experience. The design feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! And for Shaman King. I saw the manga, like one or two. It does look very cool. Okay. Next up is Minty. Is Minty here? Did she make it back? My thoughts about the dinner are more or less the same as the people who wrote before me. I hope they do it again and invite more authors because the more the merrier. I will say Ichiro Oda is my favorite because he's the only author that I'm most familiar with. Familiar as in I've seen bits of interviews and clips of him. Then I would choose Riichiro Inagaki for the questions. I couldn't think of any good ones on my own, so I got ChatGPT to help me. Number 1, which scientific concept was the most difficult to explain in an entertaining way? Number 2, which invention in Dr. Stone are you personally the most proud of including? Ooh, well, I mean, freaking rocket ship. I did not, like, how could you make that believable? And they did. So believable. Like, that was, I want to play the Dr. Stone game and go all around, go all around the world collecting everything that you need. Like, give me Dr. Stone game. And yeah, that would be, probably they'd have a better answer, but for me, the first thing I think of is they actually believably created a freaking rocket ship. And number 3, is there a character who turned out very different from your original plan? Then her next line is, I'm not caught up with Dr. Stone yet. I hope I didn't spoil you. You might next time want to start with that. Sorry! But you knew that was always their plan, right? Maybe they... What? Lastly, I want to have dinner with the voice actor Mamoru Miyano. He is so naturally funny. I genuinely think he can pass as a comedian. Thank you. Goodness. He's basically the chaotic friend in any group. We would go to sukiyaki restaurant just because I had it once and I'm craving to eat it again. We would talk about whatever and then, as a bonus, maybe go to karaoke since he's good at singing. What's up? So while Hanku is here, I will just give my answer quickly.
Shit, you don't have a straw.
I do not. But wait, while Hanku is here, show your face to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
If my answer to the bonus question is, I would want to go to dinner with Oda. What did you just do?
Nothing much.
I thought you licked my hand. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
I would want to go to dinner or invite Oda to dinner, but then I would have Hanku do barbecue for us at home, like a real South African barbecue. Remember when we did that for Taman Yuki?
Yeah.
It was so amazing. And we'd make like a bunch, and I'd ask my mom to help me make all the side dishes, like all the side dishes. Sweet bread, millie tart, braai broodjies, braai pap, noodle sly, what else?
Potato salad.
No, yeah, potato salad, but we already have because you want potato bake, but potato salad is more...
Potato salad with braai.
Okay, potato salad and a regular salad, and my mom does a nice carrot salad with pineapple in it, but like I just want a bunch of things and a bunch of meat, and then we do it Elbaf style for like 3 days. Just eating and drinking and talking. That's my answer. Thank you. You will be cooking the meat. You and my dad.
Okay.
So that's what I want to do.
I'll need 5 bags of wood.
I'll get you your wood. Thank you. Surely Oda never had a real South African barbecue while being in South Africa filming the live action. Not my style. If Oda had a proper South African braai while he was in South Africa, we would know about it because it would have been so delicious. He would have included it in an SBS and mentioned it. We do it Elbaf style for 3 days. We're talking about Oda here, so let's be more respectful.
Here you go.
Thank you. So that's why you have to go make it weird. But yeah, I would want to invite him to my house and cook a large feast with a lot of meat. Specifically, the meat will be procured from a butchery called Waza Meats. Okay. Sotos' answer is next. Wow, it's a big one. It's a big answer. I'm surprised. So Soto said, this dinner honestly feels like a once-in-a-lifetime event. Did you get ChatGPT to help you? That's a normal sentence that it started with. How did you do that? Having so many legendary mangaka together in one room must have led to some amazing conversation. Yeah, this is definitely AI. Help you write this. There's no typo. Having so many legendary mangaka together in one room must have led to some amazing conversations about storytelling, art, and their experiences over the years. Huge respect to Oda for keeping his promise and making it happen. Favorite mangaka? I would have to go with Boichi, with Oda being a very close second. You chose Boichi above Oda? Boichi's artwork is absolutely incredible. The level of detail, action scenes, and emotions he managed to capture in every panel always leave me impressed. His art is one of the biggest reasons I started to follow his work. I don't blame you. I was just joking. It's good to ask for help when you need it. I would choose to ask Boichi these 3 questions. What is the biggest piece of advice you would give to... So Boichi wasn't actually at the dinner, but we're going with it. It's Soto's, you know? He put in a lot of effort. We don't mind the mistake. What's the biggest piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to improve their art? Which panel or chapter are you personally the proudest of drawing and why? And if you could create a complete original manga with no deadlines or limitations, what kind of story would you tell? I like that last question because I think that deadlines and stuff influences choices a lot. Like even though we always talk about, and I'm always very proud of the fact that I know even if I won the lottery, like an insane amount that I never have to work again, I know I'd still maybe I'd take more vacations here and there, but I would still do what I do because I really love what I do. I really love hanging out with everyone and talking about anime and manga and games. But if I didn't have to worry about paying rent and this and that, I would change some things. I would probably add that Western day and, you know, catch up on Marvel movies, DC movies, and I might change up some things. Or I would do that thing that I always said I would do, take 1 year off anime and play games for a year so that I can actually make some progress with some games. And because then you come back and you have like 30 chapters of One Piece. Boom, amazing. Like, to be fair, I don't really think if I could do that with... I could do it with anime. I don't think I could do it with One Piece manga anymore. It's too late for that. But it's just like an example. So I do imagine for authors it would be the same. If they didn't have to worry about pleasing the editor, pleasing the fans, meeting the deadlines, what would they do? Then, if I could ask Oda 3 questions, I would ask, Number 1, looking back over all these years, which moment in One Piece are you personally the most proud of creating and why? Number 2, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about storytelling after writing One Piece for so many years? The readers are... Oda would never say that, but I wanted to make a joke about how many of us probably misinterpret his work very often, and how he must feel sometimes when he reads, like, that's not what I meant. Like when he reads what other people thinks or interprets. So I was gonna make a joke about the readers being stupid, but that just felt rude, and Oda would never say that. Which joke or comedic scene in One Piece made you laugh the most while creating it? Oh, okay, that's more of an anime thing, but okay, a lot of that is voice actor stuff. What joke? Okay, but to be fair, I was gonna say what joke in the manga was the best, but I haven't read the beginning of the manga for literally years, and then I skipped past a big portion and jumped into Egghead. Putting the zombie in the ground. Pantsu, misete kudasai. I don't know. Literally, all of Luffy and the Usopp's interactions is probably just he has to be laughing at himself, like while drawing that, right? Kinemon is Oda's self-insert character? What other game? Dark Shadow. Sending Sanji to an island with men dressed as women was hilarious too. Yeah, that is peak Oda comedy right there. Irony and comedy combined. Bonus. I would love to have dinner with Boichi. I never knew you liked Boichi so much. Oh, Dragon Ball, but that's not really counting, because the Dragon Ball game is on the Dragon Ball Day. It doesn't replace another game or... I love every scene that Luffy trolls Zoro, like going, "You're a baka," like Zoro. Or when Zoro asked Luffy to show him a katana, and he found Luffy going, "Yada de gozaru," and so on. When Zoro asked Luffy to show him a katana he found, and Luffy going, "Yada de gozaru," and so on. I don't remember that scene. It sounds hilarious. Yada de gozaru. I love Sunken Rock, so he won me over with that. I didn't know you read that. That's so cool. Ow. Because of the face Kinemon makes when people think he had it all planned as he goes along with it. Zoro making Luffy eat the burger was funny, or drink it. Wait, I can send it to you on Instagram. Please do. They goes at it. So, Soto's answer to the bonus question is, I would love to have dinner with Boichi, but if I could choose anyone else in the manga/anime industry, I'd also love to have dinner with Rie Takahashi. She's one of my favorite voice actors, and I think she's amazing. I love her performances as Hu Tao and Megumin. Oh, it's Hu Tao. Hi, Nate. And I'd be really interested in hearing how she brings such energetic and memorable characters to life. I would take them to a cozy ramen restaurant for a big bowl of chicken ramen with karage and gyoza, so we could just relax, enjoy some great food, and talk about manga, anime, and the creative process. Soto's talking about the creative process. Those are some good questions, and I'm very happy to learn about your love for Boichi. I too, for your preference. I and Hu Tao are the same voice. Actress? I did not know. I did not know. Wow, that's so cool. I sent it, but to be fair, it's also the voice acting. Yup, voice acting adds so much to I want to play it, but I'm a little bit scared for copyright, but I'll take a chance here. Let me go to Instagram. How's your reading of Hunter x Hunter manga going? Fun? Aww. That is such a cute picture. Wait, sorry, I went onto Instagram and then I saw a baby smiling and I'm like, aww. Look. Oh, cute. It's the baby of Mikaela Peterson. Okay, wait. I want to go to DMs and then to Cherry and then here. Yada kazare! Nande da yo! That is so funny!
37 seconds later.
He chucks him the sword. You're right, that is the funniest. Okay, I'm sharing that and watching it again 5 times later. Yup. Speaking of voice acting, Mamoru Miyano VA, I mentioned, I realized after I wrote, voiced Tamaki in Ouran High School. I didn't even look him up. I don't know why. I know. Oh, yes, he's hilarious. He would be so much fun at dinner. Yes. You would have a great time. Mikaela Peterson? No, Mikaela Peterson. Mikaela. I don't know how to say her name. Anyway, thank you for answering, Sotos. Next up is Espada. So my question to every mangaka would be, what would you change if you had total freedom? So meaning, I guess, if the editor and nothing could influence their work, there's 2 ways you could interpret this question. Number 1, you go back to when they were doing the manga, right? Like Toriyama, he initially wanted the androids to be the old man and the other guy. And Cell wasn't even going to be a thing, right? And then the editor said, no, they don't look cool enough. And then he changed it, and that had a huge influence on his story. And I wonder, there's 2 ways you could ask the question. Number 1, well, what other things were there that they changed? What was your version of the story going to be? And second layer, now that you look back, do you think it was the right choice? Would you have kept it that way? Or would you have kept it your way? Or are you happy with the change, actually? Like, very cool, very cool. Then Espada said, the picture below is an example of something Kubo wanted to do. Like, what did you also want to do that you perhaps didn't have time for? Oh. Maybe they had pressure from editors or the company they work for, or even if they had bad health at the time. So with total freedom, what would you add or change? And my question would be for the mangakas I know about. In this case, it would be Kishimoto, Oda, and Gege. So this is the examples he mentions from Bleach. Oopsies. Kubo stated in an interview that he wanted to use the French language and theme in Bleach because he felt it sounded very elegant. Tite Kubo's language themes, he had the Spanish for the Arrancars, chosen because it sounded passionate and slightly erotic, matching their wild lifestyle. German for the Quincy's because it sounded cold and harsh and methodic, matching their straightforward methods. And he would have liked to include a French theme. He expressed a desire to use French for its elegance, though he noted he could not figure out a good way to fit it into the main story at the time. But it would be awesome. Make the Boruto of Bleach Bichigo and his adventure with the French. The French, just like that. I would read that. Yes, please. See, just like the smoke guy from Hellboy, it's something about the German language. Yeah, I was just making a joke about the Boruto, Naruto, Ichigo, Bichigo. But maybe it would be Butchugo. Borihime. But anyway, I would definitely love to see that vision come true. But I would like to see it come true in the context of Bleach. Like, I do love the Bleach world, and I think that it still has a lot of potential. Even after the main story ends, I would still want to see the characters, right? So, yeah. Okay. Thank you for the answer. Very... Oh, wait, I didn't read the last part. Sorry. As for voice actors, I have seen a lot of them in live streams. They show up in live streams about Bleach Brave Souls, the game. Every anniversary, 3 to 5 different ones show up. Morita Masakazu is always there because Ichigo is the MC. A lot of them seem fun to hang out with, but if one VA comes to mind, it has to be Blackbeard's VA. Akio Otsuka. OMG, that guy. He's the reason why I became interested in voice actors. What would you, where would you take him? Like, let's say he comes to your country of Norway. Where would you take him for dinner? Ichigo, Bichigo and the French sounds less like Bleach and more like a JoJo's Adventure. I would love that. Collab between Bleach and the JoJo's. Hilarious. Okay. Next up, Mr. Drakenchignado. Considering how hard mangaka work, dedicating almost all of their time to working on their stories and meeting deadlines, it's wonderful to see some of the pillars of the industry coming together and enjoying a night of relaxation among their own peers. I imagine it was a chill evening of swapping stories over some delicious food, probably with complaints about editors mixed in, but things like this can also sow the seeds of inspiration, which I'm sure will bear fruit in years to come. Good point. Oda is my clear favorite, but if we exclude him as the host, like Booty did, then I would probably say Gege Akutami. Questions. Number 1 to Oda. I would ask how his approach to the One Piece story has changed over time, both in terms of the overall story and the individual interconnected points from hundreds of chapters prior, to which he is so often praised for. I would be curious to know how much is planned versus something he came up with later and just tied it in, and if that has changed as the series progressed. Genius question. I would love to hear that too. Like, what did you actually plan and which ones were the happiest accidents? Or just something that you brilliantly tied in and made it look, you know? Because that's also a different kind of genius. You know what another fun question would be for Oda is like, which were some of your favorite fan theories that weren't true, but you wish that you could You would have liked to see that. Maybe. To Gege Akutami, I would ask which character was the hardest to kill off, and was it something that had been planned out for a long time? And then to Riichiro Inagaki, I would ask about what the process was for developing the scientific aspects in the series. I imagine there were several consultants used, but how much in advance were the details planned out? I would, in that sense, also, those final chapters, there would be some good questions to ask for the Dr. Stone author regarding those final chapters. But I won't spoil because Minty, of course, and many others. But yeah, like I would like to what kind of questions did he ask to what kind of consultants to make that ending possible, you know? Then for the bonus answer, One Piece is at the top of my favorite, so going out to dinner with Ichiro Oda would be a dream. Same, that's my answer. Like I already said, there is so much that I would want to ask about One Piece, but from the SBS, it is clear that he has a great sense of humor, so it would also be a fun time. Another possibility would be Yuriko Yamaguchi, since it would be the closest I could get to going on a date with Robin. I would prefer going to a more relaxed kind of restaurant, so maybe something like a nice yakiniku place would be good. Croco Mom, too bad it's not a theory. Favorite, this is from Odinoko. His answer is favorite attendee, Oda. Questions to Oda would be, how did you come up with the idea of devil fruits? Which character design is your favorite? And of all the other people at this dinner table, who would you say is the laziest? Would he know? Bonus, dinner with anyone? I would invite Nozawa-san to the greasiest, least fancy, most unassuming Pikada place, which is also the best, so she can eat like Goku. For reference, this is Pikada. What is it? Meat, more meat. Chickpea potatoes? And guacamole? That looks delicious. I don't know what this meat is, but this looks the most delicious. I don't think I would. That looks like blood sausage or something like that. Oh, yellow potatoes? You only get them here? Wow. Everything looks super delicious though. There's yes to meat on my plate. Shotos, be quiet. Thank you for answering. That looks very delicious. I'm sure Nozawa-san would enjoy it a lot. Suddenly my face is kind of burning. Cherry's answer is the final one for today. She says, I read the question of the week, but I gave up on answering because I couldn't decide if I wanted to have a discussion about human psychology, the world and its systems with Oda-sensei, Isayama, and Yukimura, or if I just want to sit there with Levi, Zoro, and Nanami's VAs to listen to their voices nonstop. That would be a great night. But I think it's really cool that they had this meeting off screen. They probably left with a sense of inspiration after getting together with people that have the same area of expertise. If I had to choose a favorite aside from Oda, I would pick Gege. Although there's some legends among the attendees, I'm fascinated by the power system that Gege built. I believe he had some ideas that were challenging for him to integrate into the story, hence sometimes the long-winded explanations. I really like how he says so much through the story and the characters without explicitly pointing it out though. The underlying messages resonate with me, which is why he's my favorite among these. It's so difficult to think of questions, but for Oda, I would ask how the story of One Piece has changed for him over the last 30 years. I can't imagine writing a story for that long. He must have changed a lot from when he started writing. I want to know how he dealt with those changes. I can't narrow down my answers, but if I go to dinner with anyone aside from Oda, I would pick Hiromu Arakawa. At this point, I'm in awe of what a good writer she is. FMAB is a masterpiece, and I'm loving Yomi no Tsugai. Her stories make you wonder what's going to happen next. I've been surprised at the turn of events more times than I can count. I would love to just hear her talk and ask her how she comes up with these ideas. I won't pick Levi, Zoro, and Nanami or Tamaki's VA because I think I would faint hearing their voices. Isayama also came to mind, but for some reason I feel the discussion would turn to a bit depressing. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do any VA. I want to remain like, I want to get through the night with my personal respect intact, you know, my personal, I don't think I could still, I want to like have a fun conversation, and I think I could have a fun conversation with Oda, but some VAs, I would just to be able to like remain respectful, I would just have to be like, like, otherwise I would fangirl and it would be really embarrassing. And they're just normal people, so you don't want to freak out, but it's very difficult. I think the voice actors that would make me freak out the most would be like Bakugo's voice actor, Zoro's voice actor, Gojo's voice actor. So I wouldn't want to meet them. Just see them from far away. Or like if I would be able to keep it together long enough to have like a signing or something, but dinner. No. Just Oda, thank you. If Levi's VA talked to me, I would probably only reply in short squawks. Exactly, like. Actually, it might be okay because I feel like my voice would go so high, only dogs would be able to hear it. So I would just be there like. Some years ago, I met Vegeta's Basque VA. It's hella weird looking a real person talking with an anime voice that you recognize. I feel like a lot of the Japanese VAs probably won't sound like their characters exactly, but to some extent, you'll still recognize them. So imagine eating chicken and then she starts doing this. Who? Oh. Wait, I have to hear it also. Eating your karage and then. I'm scared for copyright, but you never know. Going to go explode, and then your chicken just poof. And then Soto's chicken. So good. When a romance episode did way more than just romance. My favorite thing about the explosion spell is that the script just tells her to say whatever she wants. Really? Yeah, the script just says incantation and she improvised it all. Whoa, they really amped up the spectacle in the anime. In the novel, there's no chanting, no screaming. Explosion, and the spell shoots a simple orb of fire that explodes on contact rather than the huge special effects in the anime. One who is darker than twilight, one who is redder than flowing blood. Buried in the flow of time, in thy great name, I hereby pledge myself to darkness, those who stand before us in our way, all those who have become fools, merge thy power and mine, to grant destructive equality to all. Dragon slave! What's that? Is that a different incantation? She's also the best person to play Megumin because she is Megumin. IRL Chunibu. Side note, Megumin gets a statue. Kazuma and Darkness have cardboard cutouts and Aqua gets a room full of air. Aqua-chan. Where was this? Because here I see the... Dum. Aw, she's so cute. Yeah, Aqua's hiding somewhere. That's from Slayers. Lena's inverse spell. Oh. Really? That's so cool. She just spouts nonsense each time. You have to, the thing is you have to believe in yourself. Like that's the true spell. Like, and so you have to hype yourself up with the words, but it actually comes from you. That makes sense. I didn't read that somewhere. I'm just imagining like that's probably what it's about. So, to answer my own question of the week, I think the legendary dinner is exactly that. Legendary. I wish I was a fly on the wall, but also that real life had subtitles, so I knew what was going on. It might be overthinking it or over wishing it, but I really do imagine that this is a dinner that could really like change the world in some way, because I really think that anime and manga have a huge influence on the whole world, especially stories like One Piece and My Hero Academia and like all of them, and the community and just the way that people think, and especially those that grew up with these stories. But I mean, there's a whole nother generation coming, and I hope and I wish I could hear them talk about stuff like that. You know, what's next for the industry, and I would love to ask maybe someone like Oda, but if I were to talk, it wouldn't be like in the sense of doing an article. I wouldn't want to have a video. Like, I wouldn't want his answers to be, oh, this is being recorded or this will be shared. I want to hear just, you know, and I'm sure everyone thought the same thing, but I'm just saying it explicitly because obviously I make YouTube videos, but I wouldn't want Oda to think, oh, I'm answering and she's gonna talk about it, because I want to hear like his true thoughts on things like how he feels about reactors and theorists. Obviously completely different things, but just like, I guess those are two questions. Number one, how does he feel about reactors? Does he feel it's disrespectful to his work, or is it like people that play a game and adds to the experience? Like, I'd want to not just ask him about it, but talk to him a little bit about it. The other one is about theorists and what were some of his favorite theories throughout the years that is not true, but they seemed fun or interesting or smart. And then I would like to. It's difficult. If I had one more question, it would be difficult to choose between Horikoshi and Inagaki from Dr. Stone. I would have some questions for both, but I'd lean slightly towards Horikoshi maybe, and ask him about the process of creating characters like, you know, Bakugo and uh, Endeavor, who are, they have this kind of like I guess about characters with the redemption. I want to talk to Horikoshi about the topic of redemption, so I won't delve too much into it right now, but I'd like to talk about that because I think his story does that very well. Cause not every single character gets redeemed. Like in sometimes they get redeemed in a sense, but then their actions still catch up to them, you know, and they're not really saved, but stuff like that. So I think that would be interesting to talk about. So 2 questions for Oda and 1 for Horikoshi. If I would go to dinner with someone, it would be from the list Oda. And I already told you about what I would make or where we would go. If I had to choose someone else from the industry though, I don't know. I didn't really think further than that, but I would like to talk to any mangaka, any voice actor about their process and how they. I think I would like to talk to a. This is Ai's voice actor. That's wild. So I'd actually think it'd be great to go to dinner with her because I want to talk about how her process of changing her voice for different characters, and I keep forgetting. It's hilarious. I'm still shocked now. Like, Ai's voice actor, and she sings so amazingly. I want to talk to them just about the experience of doing their work, but also the ones that sing openings and stuff. Like, how do you? Who would you like to have at this dinner that was not on the list? Kubo. I wonder. I also would wish I could know why he wasn't there. I'm sure it's not really a bad reason. I think it's just about like who was comfortable like within the Shueisha or Jump family and who had, you know, like you could contact each other easily. And but yeah, it would have been nice if One Piece author, Naruto author, Bleach author could have been there. Kafka from Starl has the same VA as Akeno, but this makes more sense than I, right? Yes. So I really liked the question. Even if it was a bit convoluted, it was fun to hear about all these things and imagine all these situations and imagine. I'm not the kind of person that watches a lot of or reads a lot of interviews and stuff because 2 reasons. Number 1, there is so much anime I want to watch and manga I want to read, and just in general things. I rarely make time to go look up the voices behind the characters or the writers behind. So the only time I ever really look at this kind of stuff is when it's woven into the experience, like with One Piece and the SBSs, or you guys, post the information and I read it from there. But other than that, I'm not really the kind of person that, even in Western, I don't like watching interviews of actors and stuff because, well, in the West, they just say things and then you're like, oh no, and it ruins characters for you. But I don't think it's the same in Japan. But I try not to learn too much about, because it kind of can influence the illusion because you think about, it's not like I do it on purpose, but my brain does sometimes. It gets influenced by what I know from real life. Like, for example, this is an extreme example, but I wonder what it would be like to watch Kenshin, Would I be influenced knowing what I know now? Can I just enjoy it for what it is? Is it that will I don't know. I'll have to try and see. About this should have been your hint, but keep it for later. It will definitely block. It's Hu Tao wrapping. But I haven't seen Hu Tao wrapping for a very long time. Oh goodness. Sorry, I just saw a video on the side of the recommended. Thank you guys for answering and taking part. I had fun. Now I am not sure what we're gonna do. Just hang out, maybe play some games, maybe do dailies. And I'll see you in the next question of the month. Probably. I'm gonna see on the days that there's no One Piece. So today we didn't have a new One Piece manga chapter. About once a month we don't have a new One Piece manga chapter. Initially I was gonna do Hunter x Hunter on that day, but I'm having a lot of fun with the Hunter x Hunter manga, so I might want to do it every other Friday instead, like 2 or 3 times a month rather than just once. So I'm going to do the question of the week probably in that week when we don't have One Piece. What is surprising me? What is surprising is that how you didn't know from me. I was really bummed I was only 1 episode because... Yeah, but you probably... I knew we talked about it, but then I forgot. You know me, I forget things. I can look something up 1 week and forget it and I have to look it up the next week again. It's just... If we don't talk about it a lot, it's not going to stick. Something has to make it stick. That's why with the Pokemon... When I'm playing Pokemon, how many times did I have to learn Bug beats Dark? To remember Bug beats Dark. Like, it didn't stick for months. Bye, Minty. Thank you. I'm glad you feel a little bit better. Sending you love for the whole week ahead. Enjoy your week. Gambare, gambare. What beats poison? Ground. See, after a while. What's the name of the Pokeball expert? Kurt the Bull Thief. Curtis? Okay. See you guys, and thank you for watching.